I grew up in the projects of North Philly, 215-267. So nothing can derail us or me.
Nothing can derail me. I'm Dawn Staley. That was the lovely Dawn Staley a few hours before the national championship game yesterday in the women's tournament, or as the mainstream media prefers to call it, March Madness, where the only thing maddening about it is how painfully boring these games are. That was Dawn Staley bragging about her toughness, claiming that nothing can derail her and her Lady Cocks from South Carolina. Several hours later, the Lady Cocks were booked a first-class ticket on the Brews Caboose, and the caboose was derailed on its way back to Columbia because South Carolina got their ass kicked by UCLA. Once again, another supposed high-profile matchup. Another matchup between two teams who were supposedly the best two teams in the country. Another game in the women's tournament, and it was over with by halftime. For 3 weeks, I have listened to the mainstream media celebrate ratings for the women's tournament. Have you seen these ratings? Wowzer! These ratings are magnificent. These ratings are huge. For 3 weeks, I have watched as the mainstream media continue to polish this turd. The media's tried to convince us that women's basketball is surging in popularity. And look, the ratings definitely are not bad. But since the tournament started, I've noticed that no one is talking about it. No one is talking about women's basketball. The ratings, along with the media hype, it does not match reality, not to mention the fact that these ratings are concerning because we are seeing massive declines. Going into the Final Four, the women's tournament was averaging 931,000 viewers, down 4% compared to last year, down 34% compared to 2024 when the Great White Hope elevated women's basketball into the mainstream. Some games in the first and second round of the tournament, they fell to eclipse 500,000 viewers. The Sweet 16 and the Elite 8, which is an odd name for the quarterfinal round since most of these teams are not elite. But the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8 averaged 2.2 million viewers, down 5% compared to last year, down 50% compared to 2024. Now you got to remember, this year's ratings are being boosted by Nielsen's new rating system. Thanks to the new system, most leagues are seeing drastic increases. Women's basketball is seeing massive declines. The question is why? Is it a lack of star power? Maybe there's too much competition. Some of these games are competing directly with the real March Madness. Or maybe, just maybe, it's the same reason that Uncle KC has been saying all along. Perhaps we are seeing declining interest in women's basketball because the product is the drizzling shits. Make sure to like and subscribe. You can follow me on Twitter at KC_BTL84. Let's go and get to the sponsor for today's video, my good friends at Sugar Mountain Trading. My uncle called me around Thanksgiving. He's a military veteran, served in the Gulf War in the early 90s, but as he's gotten older, been dealing with various health-related issues. Doctors had him on pain management, had him taking all this medication just to get him to sleep at night, most of which wasn't working. Once the meds wore off, he was tossing and turning all night, plus he was building up a tolerance. My aunt bought him some CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading. She wanted him to try it out just to see if it would work. My uncle applies the CBD lotion every night before he goes to bed. He is getting the best sleep that he has gotten in years. Doesn't even take the pain medication anymore because He doesn't need it. Over the holidays, one of my longtime viewers reached out to me telling me how the CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading alleviated his back pain. He had been dealing with back pain for years, couldn't find anything that worked, bought a bottle of CBD lotion from Sugar Mountain Trading. 20 or so minutes later, back pain gone. I have got countless stories from viewers, friends, family. Everyone tells me the same thing. They cannot believe this stuff actually works. Hell, there's a reason Sugar Mountain Trading has been with me here on the channel for 18, 19 months now. My audience keeps buying their CBD because Sugar Mountain Trading is the real deal. All CBD products offered at Sugar Mountain Trading, 100% natural, 100% free of THC. So click the link in the description or the pinned comment below. Use my promo code BTL25, BTL25. Receive 25% off your first purchase with Sugar Mountain Trading. Headline at The Athletic. All eyes on South Carolina and UCLA for national championship fireworks. Will they deliver? There was damn sure a fire yesterday, but it was not fireworks. It was a flaming ass fire. Now, to their credit, The Athletic was willing to be truthful about the women's tournament, which is extremely rare to see in the mainstream media. Now, obviously, they weren't as brutally honest about it as I am, but The Athletic, they were willing to subtly criticize the product in women's basketball. After the Final Four, UCLA coach Corey Close apologized to the fans. The winning coach, the coach headed to the national championship and who eventually won the national championship, she is apologizing to the fans. Why? It was definitely not a pretty game. I wanted to apologize to the fans for the rugby match and the 23 turnovers. The truth is, it wasn't a pretty tournament. Matter of fact, it was an eyesore. Every round of the women's tournament was double-digit blowouts. But Uncle KC, the Final Four was boring on the men's side too. How come no one criticizes the men when they play boring basketball? It's not fair. The NBA is being crucified right now for the substandard product they offer during the regular season. The NBA receives a hell of a lot more criticism than women's basketball and the WNBA. But I'll tell you why the men's Final Four isn't being criticized. Both the NBA and men's college basketball, they have a luxury of being given the benefit of the doubt because they have a long history of offering a great product. For most of the regular season, the NBA has been trash. But here in a couple of weeks, when the playoffs start, everyone will be watching. The NBA can be painfully boring all season, but all it takes is one compelling matchup in the playoffs to bring people back in. The women don't have that luxury. They don't have the same foundation. Last week, Jaden Ivey was fired by the Chicago Bulls. He's the only player in the league who had the courage to question why the NBA keeps tasting the rainbow. He's the only player in the league willing to question why the NBA embraces the woke wiener. He posted a video on social media. The Wanker Spankers, they pretended to be offended by it. The video was controversial, and Jaden Ivey, he was fired within hours. But Jaden Ivey, he wasn't fired because of his beliefs. Jaden Ivey was fired because of his lack of value. If Steph Curry had said the same thing, you think the Rainbow Warriors are releasing him? If Cooper Flagg questioned the rainbow, the Mavs, they're not releasing him. They're not releasing their cash cow for the next 2 decades because he prefers Mardi Gras over pride parades. Cooper Flagg is too valuable. Jaden Ivey was released because he was causing too much controversy, and he doesn't provide enough value to deal with that controversy. It's the same idea with women's basketball. You don't have enough juice to get away with not providing an entertaining product. You don't have decades of fan investment to fall back on. You don't have generations of families. You don't have grandfathers, fathers, and sons who have dedicated years watching your product. The real March Madness, it can have a 2 or 3 year stretch where the tournament is dreadful. Millions of people are still going to watch because they know eventually March Madness will return to normal. With the women, you have decades of being overlooked. You have decades of people thinking that your product is not entertaining. Your product is substandard. Now, whether or not it's true doesn't matter. The perception is the only thing that matters. And this tournament reinforced the perception that women's basketball is boring. And look, I don't say that to be mean, but someone has to say it because most in the media will continue to polish the turd. There is a reason that the NBA adjusted their rules to increase offensive production. There's a reason that millions of people watch Caitlin Clark. There's a reason that the NFL protects quarterbacks. These leagues know scoring drives ratings. Outside of basketball purists, people don't want to watch a basketball game where the score is 20-17 at halftime, which was the halftime score the other night in the Final Four between Texas and UCLA. People don't want to see 23 turnovers in a game. Turnovers are sloppy. You can't develop a rhythm. Makes for a boring product. Yesterday at halftime, South Carolina had 23 points. That dog won't hunt. There has never been more eyes on women's basketball. Everything they've been complaining about for decades, whether it was inadequate facilities, attention from the mainstream media, nationally televised games, everything they complained about, they have been given. But like I say all the time, there always comes a point when the sympathy expires and you will be expected to perform. There always comes a point where you either step up or you step aside. There was no mainstream star in the women's tournament. There was no Caitlin Clark. There was no Paige Beckers, Juju Watkins. But millions of people were still willing to give them a chance, and they failed to deliver. Sound off in the comments below. I'll see you guys later.